Hello class. Today we are going to be preparing macaroni and cheese, otherwise known as mac and cheese. There are two approaches to preparing mac and cheese. One is the yellow and blue box. The other is traditional. We're going to do traditional. The first step is to boil your macaroni, which has been pre-weighed 1/2 pound of macaroni elbows. As you remember from a previous lesson, it takes a while for water to boil. So we're going to start the water boiling now, and it will take a while. While that's heating up, we're going to go on to another task, which is grating the cheese. This is actually the hardest part of the whole process. You can use a box grater like this and use the large holes and set it on a plate to catch the cheese. There's another option you may want to consider, and that's to buy a package of pre-grated cheese, cheddar cheese. The recipe calls for 1/2 pound, 8 ounces of cheddar cheese. This package has 0.83 pounds, so I'm going to estimate about there, and I would kind of like to have a little more than 1/2 pound. And that's a little more than 1/2 pound. I'm left-handed, so I hold the cheese in my left hand and the grater in my right hand and make an up and down motion, pressing the cheese against the grater, and continue this for as long as it takes. Be very careful you don't rub your knuckles or fingers against the blade of the grater, because that hurts and you may bleed into your cheese. Getting down to the last part, you have to be especially careful of your fingers and keep turning the cheese as it gets smaller and smaller. Okay, my water's boiling, and so I'm going to add 1/2 pound of macaroni elbow macaronis, which is 1/2 box, and dump them in. Give them a little swirl. Don't put the lid on, because it will boil over if you put the lid back on. Have the lid on when you're getting your water ready, but don't put the lid on when the macaroni's in there. Now set your timer for 7 minutes, as it says on the box, or whatever your box says. Meanwhile, we'll work on our sauce, which we'll prepare in a saucepan. This sauce is one of the classic French mother sauces. It's called a bechamel, which is a white sauce which starts with butter, flour, and milk. We're going to add some spices and some cheese, but the basic sauce is butter, flour, and milk. And we will begin that now by warming up our milk in the microwave for 2 minutes. Okay, I've preheated the milk for 2 minutes in the microwave, and it's now 90 degrees, 92 degrees. It doesn't have to be very hot. We just wanted to warm it up a little bit, and I'll set that aside for now. Okay, we're going to start work on the bechamel while the elbows are still boiling. We'll have to drop everything and drain our elbows when the timer goes off. Meanwhile, I'll heat my saucepan and medium heat and let that warm up. Put 2.5 tablespoons of butter in here to melt. It'll take a little while. Okay, my elbows are almost done and my butter is still melting, so I'm turning my butter very low so it doesn't burn while I deal with the macaroni. You see, I have safety in mind. I have mitts on, and I'm very carefully carrying my macaroni over to the sink and pouring it into the colander. Don't worry about one being stuck in there. So my macaroni is draining, toss a little to loosen it up, and I'm pouring it into my baking dish. Then it awaits the sauce. My butter is now melted, but not burnt. Turn up the heat a little more, still medium-low. Take your mitts off now so you can do other things. This is the fun part. When you add flour to the butter, stir it with a whisk and let it cook in there a little bit. Let it bubble. Then add your spices. Salt, pepper, dry mustard. Stir that. A teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And now the warm milk. You notice how I pour, so that if the liquid runs down the face of the measuring cup, it falls into the pot and not onto the stove. See that? Vigorously stir with a whisk. Vigorously, but not too strong. Turn up the heat to medium-high. So what's happening? The flour is absorbing the milk and it's going to thicken. I've been stirring for a couple of minutes and it still hasn't thickened, so it takes time. The temperature is 173 at this point, so it has a ways to go till it gets up to a boil. Okay, the sauce is thickened, it's starting to bubble. I'm turning the heat way down to low. See how thick that is? It's not like paste, but it's thickened considerably. And the temperature is about 204. It's not quite the boiling temperature, but it was starting to simmer with some bubbles. The sauce is thickened now. I've been stirring frequently, not continuously, but frequently, to make sure it doesn't burn on the bottom. And as soon as it started to bubble, I turned the heat down to very low. I don't want it to boil, but I want it to just start to bubble. And now it's thickened, and I'm ready to add my cheese. I'm not going to add all the cheese. I'm going to save a little to put on top. So, try not to drop it on the stove top because it'll burn. Save that for on top. And just slowly stir that in until it melts into the sauce. We're going to take our sauce over to the macaroni and pour it on. Make sure that the handle is not too hot. If it is, use a pot holder. I can handle this. Mix it in a little bit. Now sprinkle half a cup of breadcrumbs on top. Do it in an area where you can clean up afterwards. And optional, you can add a little extra cheese on top. I have a 350-degree preheated oven, and I'm going to put the baking dish in there. And set my timer 20 to 30 minutes. So I'll set my timer for the minimum time. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. I'm going to take a look at the mac and cheese and see how it's looking. Pretty bubbly. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and meanwhile I'm going to start the peas. I'm going to give this 5 minutes. A bag of frozen peas that's steamed fresh, bird's eye. For my microwave, it takes 7 minutes. A more powerful microwave might be a little less. Read the package. Okay, 5 minutes has passed. Time to take out the mac and cheese. Notice I'm wearing 2 hot mitts. Let it sit for a bit while our peas are still cooking. I see another 2 minutes on the peas. And remember, this meal isn't complete without the peas, because this is mac and cheese and peas, please.